We are just hours away from the 2025 NFL Draft, and it is time for our last mock draft. But I want to know, for the last time, last call, who do you want the Cincinnati Bengals to take at number 17 overall? Get those names for me down in the comments right now. What is going on, Bengals fans? Stone Shields on hand for another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, it is my final mock draft. We've done 3 of these over the course of the past couple months and weeks. It is time for my mock draft 4.0. Last one with the NFL Draft getting kicked off tomorrow, and I do believe this is my best one to date, so pretty fired up about it. Let's go through the picks here. I obviously ran it through the PFF sim like we always do here at Chat Sports, and this is what it spit out for us as far as the first 16 picks in this year's draft. Cam Moore, number 1 overall. It's going to happen. It's simply going to happen. There's no other way that Tennessee goes in a different route with that selection. At number 1, Travis Hunter, number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. Abdul Carter, 3 to the Giants. And the draft really starts to kind of begin, right? New England going with Mason Graham at number 4 here with this PFF mock draft. Ashton, Jeaty, 5, pretty early there for the running back out of Boise State. Will Campbell goes 6 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Dave Lapham, by the way, phenomenal job covering the Bengals, their radio analyst working alongside Dan Horde. He says Will Campbell's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal at 17. I would be shocked if he fell that far. In fact, I would say it's nearly impossible that he does. 7, Tate McMillan out of Arizona to the Jets. Jalon Walker, very popular pick to the Carolina Panthers. PFF, that sim, agrees with the general public there. Colston Loveland, 9 overall to the Saints. Kind of a head-scratcher there for me. Going before Tyler Warren. That's pretty crazy that would happen, but again, that is what PFF spit out. Armand Membu, 11 to the Niners. Kelvin Banks Jr., 12 to the Dallas Cowboys. And you got Will Johnson, 13 overall to the Miami Dolphins. Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, a guy that we've talked a lot about as a potential Cincinnati Bengal. He's off the board at 14. Mike Green off at 15. And Jedi Barron off at 16. For the second time, I am selecting Malachi Starks, round 1, pick 17 overall for the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, the Bengals need a can't-miss guy, and Malachi Starks is a can't-miss guy. He checks off all the boxes, right? Did a tremendous job throughout his years at Georgia. Great football IQ, great leadership. His coaches love him, right? He's a willing tackler at that safety position, something that they've struggled with. The Bengals, of course, at that safety spot, he can cover as well. Is there some concerns with his top-end speed? Sure, but that really is the only thing you are concerned about when you're talking about Malachi Starks. Absolutely love him. Again, I've done him as a mock draft before previously, and it just had to be done again for me at that 17 overall spot. Malachi Starks is a can't-miss guy, and he would fit in beautifully in Al Golden's defense. Some other notable guys that were on the board when I picked Malachi Starks at number 17 overall. Walter Nolan was still on the board. A lot of buzz about Cincinnati perhaps being interested in Walter Nolan. James Pierce Jr., again, a name that was really early on linked to Cincinnati. You do have some off-the-field concerns there with James Pierce Jr., not from a troublesome standpoint, from a how much does he love football standpoint. Now, I do want to be very clear here. My prediction for Cincinnati, again, I did this mock draft. If I was Duke Tobin, who would I take? But my prediction is going to be Derek Harmon, by the way, so don't be surprised if the Bengals take him at 17 overall out of Oregon. I know a lot of people covering the Bengals really like that pick as well. Gray Zabel also on the board. He's getting a lot of buzz here as we approach round 1, getting underway tomorrow. And also Tyler Booker was available as well. Guard certainly a need for Cincinnati additionally. Leads to the pinned comment of today's show. Would you draft Malachi Starks at number 17 overall? Let me know. Be honest with me at the comment section of today's show. Type Y for yes or N for no. If that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. You can ignore it. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comments. Let us know what you think. Okay, not going to roll through the entirety of the second round here. We will do our last 6 picks, and do want to make note off the bat here. Do not be surprised if Cincinnati opts to trade back out of the second round and acquire more picks. I think if they're going to do it, the second round is a spot in which they might do it. So keep that in mind. But Tyleik Williams off the board, Xavier Watts off the board. A lot of people want Xavier Watts in Cincinnati. Braden Swinson off the board. Tui Moloau out of Ohio State. Travion Henderson also out of Ohio State. Just barely out of the grasp of Cincinnati there at 49. It's gone, as is Kevin Winston Jr. I'm going back-to-back Bulldogs here. Give me Tate Ratledge, interior offensive lineman out of Georgia. I think his play style fits in perfectly in the AFC North, right? I always say, the AFC North, that's the roughest, toughest division, right? It gets cold up in the, Midwest too as well. Just feels like just football when you think about the AFC North. And that's exactly what Tate Ratledge is. He is a football player. He is a self-proclaimed dirtbag. He gets in it, and he absolutely loves, getting in there and getting physical when he's in the trenches there blocking for his quarterback. I think he would fit in really well with this Cincinnati Bengals team. He's a guy that has played a lot of football, several years at Georgia. There is some injury concerns when you're talking about Tate Ratledge. That probably is the number one concern that you have. By the way, he tested incredibly well. Was kind of shocked to see, how athletic he truly is at that guard spot when he was going through his testing. But the injuries there is something that you might necessarily want to monitor a little bit when you're talking about Tate Ratledge. He does have some weak ankles that could perhaps be an issue, and I don't believe he's gotten through a full season healthy at Georgia. So that certainly is noteworthy if you're going to take a guy like that in the second round. Some other guys that were on the board that I thought about taking, how about Caleb Johnson? Shoot, he was still available in this mock draft for PFF. Did not take a running back in the second round. Darius Alexander also available. And then the other two offensive linemen that I kind of was thinking about was Ariante Ursary, of course, out of Minnesota, and Jonas Savanaia, a guy we talked a lot about as well, out of Arizona. But ultimately, I went with Ratledge in round 2. We'll continue with the rest of our picks here in a second, but first, got to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time, as today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch or the start of your event. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They got those last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Really love the zone deals, right? Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. Also, that all-in pricing. Toggling this feature up front allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any of those surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. Really encourage you to get some tickets to see the Cincinnati Redlegs when they get back in town. Thank goodness they finally beat the Miami Marlins and were able to avoid the sweep here this afternoon. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. They got last-minute tickets, lowest prices, all guaranteed. All right, Cincinnati, of course, has a selection in the third round. These are some recent guys that went off the board before Cincinnati picks at number 81 overall. Alfred Collins, he's gone. Demetrius Knight Jr. is gone. Darian Porter as well. Ozzie Trapillo and Terrence Ferguson all gone before Cincinnati makes that pick at number 81 overall. Who do I have him taking? Well, shoot, they need an edge rusher, and we have not addressed it yet with our first two picks. Ashton Gillotte, edge rusher out of Louisville. I think it's a steal that he is still available at this spot here at 81, and obviously it fills a massive need for you because you really need serious help at that pass rush position. Even if Troy Hendrickson is going to be back with this football team in 2025, it was Trey Hendrickson or nothing. We've said it a million times on this show. Gillotte can come in and help with that. Gilotte's a guy that his motor runs really, really hot, right? He can go, and he can go for a long time. Is there some concerns with his ability to stop the run? Yes, absolutely. And the numbers as far as production kind of went down a little bit, but the pressures did not. I do have some concerns, like I mentioned, in the run game when you're talking about Gillotte, but that's not what Cincinnati really needs to be focused on at that edge spot. They need somebody to get after the quarterback, and that's something that Ashton Gillotte can do. We'll make note. He needs to do a better job of getting his hands up when he doesn't get home, right? Only had one PBU this past season for Louisville, but a lot to love about Ashton Gillotte. If he's available for you at 81, I think he'd be a great fit. Let me know, would you draft Ashton Gillotte in round 3 if he is there? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's show. Type A for yes or B for no. Round 4, pick 119. Yeah, I'm double dipping at that edge rusher spot. Again, this is his position where I sit there and say, oh, A, you need a lot of help at that edge rusher spot, right? And B, this is a really good player available to you at 119 overall in Sai'vion Jones. There's some production issues, right? He hasn't necessarily been the most productive guy for LSU, but there's a lot of people around the league that really like him. They really like his traits, and they really think he can develop into a strong player for this Cincinnati Bengals team. He, too, similar to Gillotte, has that motor, and he can go, and he can go, and he can go, and that's something that really would be beneficial for Cincinnati. And, look, he's not going to be a guy that's going to go out there and play a ton if you take him, right? But he's a guy that I think could go in there and really be a situational pass rusher for you, which Cincinnati could use as well. Arguably my favorite pick, besides Malachi Starks, is right here. Round 5, pick 153. Give me Jack Kiser out of Notre Dame. I've said it several times here on the show. I think it would behoove the Bengals to get a guy from Notre Dame. Like, just keeping it simple. You're bringing in Al Golden. What an incredible defense. What an incredible job he did in South Bend last year. And why not take one of his best players, one of his captains in Jack Kiser? He played the most games in Notre Dame football history. How about that? He's played a ton of football. Is a guy that coaches will absolutely fall in love with. He's going to want to be the, first guy in, last guy out mentality, one of the hardest workers, captain, right? Checks off all the boxes. And putting him next to Logan Wilson, my goodness, that would be absolutely unbelievable to have that tandem at linebacker with Kiser and Logan Wilson. And of note, this guy grinded as a special teamer as well. And if you're a backup linebacker, that's something you want to see. You want to see a guy come in and have a lot of production on special teams as well. I think a linebacker room of Logan Wilson, Oren Burks, and Jack Kiser really would be a massive upgrade off what you've had in previous years. Absolutely love Jack Kiser in round 5. Last pick for Cincinnati here, a guy that I have mocked previously to the Cincinnati Bengals, is Zeek Biggers in the 6th round. Some people might say, it's a little rich for Biggers, right? More of a 7th round type talent, but I think Biggers could really be a quality pick for this Bengals team. They do still need some help within those trenches, and let me tell you, Zeek Biggers is ginormous. He is a massive human being. A lot of similarities just kind of to play style, I would say, to McKinley Jackson, who you took last year. I think getting another massive body in there to help slow down the run would be beneficial for Cincinnati, but he needs to improve a lot in that area. Did kind of struggle against the run for Georgia Tech throughout his career, but I think he's a guy that you can kind of take a flyer on, and he has an opportunity to really develop into a solid piece for you as a late-round pick. To recap, Cincinnati has 6 picks. Let's run through them all once more here on today's show. Malachi Starks, that's who I'm taking round 1, number 17. Tate Ratledge, round 2, 49. Back-to-back Bulldogs to get us going in this draft. Ashton, round 3, pick 81 overall out of Louisville. Sai'vion Jones, edge rusher as well, out of LSU. Jack Kiser, round 5, linebacker, out of Notre Dame. And Zeek Biggers, defensive tackle, out of Georgia Tech. All right, let me know how I did in the comment section of today's show. Grade the Cincinnati Bengals mock draft for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Be honest with me. Before we get out of here, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV. We will have videos coming at you guys all week long, draft related. Anytime Cincinnati makes a selection, shoot, if they make a trade, we will have a video for you guys, and we might even be live a couple of times as well, depending on how things shake out here at our Chat Sports offices. But regardless, don't miss out on any of our coverage. Hit that sub button for me right now.